What is going on, gaming nerds? Welcome back to Midnight Gaming with Mr. Gamer. Thanks for coming to the channel and hanging out. I appreciate it. It is midnight yet again. We are back on Russian Fishing 4, and I need to make a video correction. If you guys haven't seen it yet, yesterday or last night, I put out a video that had to deal with gear ratios as well as rotational speed. Okay? Now, for the most part, I could have sworn I had it right, but when I actually said it in the video, I knew that it was a little bit off. It was a little bit wrong. So I want to make a correction. The majority of the video is completely right. Basically, there is one little small section, however, that is actually incorrect, and I need to do. I want to make sure that I do a correct job of putting out the correct information when it comes down to this. So it's not really a huge big deal, but for the most part, to be very specific when it comes down to the details of the game, I need to do a correction on this real quick. And as soon as I said it, I kind of thought that something was off. It was a little bit strange. But basically what I did is I used the Beluga Narga as an example for the gear ratio of 4.3 to 1. And basically what I said with that 4.3 to 1 is I said that on the right hand side, for every rotation of the spool, you would pull in the left side's number, which was 4.3 centimeters. That is incorrect. That is what it was incorrect. What it actually is for every rotation of the reel's handle, or the crank, if you will, the spool itself will actually spin 4.3 times. Okay, that is a lot better sounding, because the fact of the matter is 4.3 centimeters sounded way too small of an amount, but meters and feet sounded too big. So that makes more sense, because as it spins, the spool spins 4.3 times, you can get anywhere from 30 centimeters to 80 to 100 centimeters. It all really depends on two main things. The first thing is the diameter of the spool. Now, keep in mind what I'm about to say is the devs haven't given us the numbers on these yet, so there's no way we can actually figure out how much we're pulling in per rotation or anything else like that. But for the most part, the difference between pulling in a certain amount of line, like 30 centimeters compared to 80 centimeters, comes down to the diameter of your spool compared to I should say the diameter of the spool, and also how much line is actually on the spool. Okay, so if you have two reels that are exactly the same, that are side by side, yet one of those reels has a larger spool, then because it has a larger diameter spool, it's going to be traveling more of a distance to do a rotation, which means it's going to pull in more line per rotation. Okay, on top of that, how much line also depends, or I should say how much you're pulling in also depends on how much line you have on that spool. So if you've got two reels that are exactly the same and they're side by side, and you've got one that's got 100 meters of line and you've got the other one that's got 200 meters of line, the one that has 200 meters of line on it actually technically makes that spool diameter bigger, which means it'll pull in more line per rotation. Now, this is all real life stuff. This stuff isn't in the game because they haven't, and it could be in the game, but I don't think it is. They haven't given us specific diameter sizes or how much more the diameter of a reel grows by putting actual line on there. So we can't really figure out the speeds when it comes down to that, on how fast, reels will reel in line. But the fact of the matter is you can still utilize that same information that I gave you on the previous video. If you look at a reel set and you see, one is 4.3 to 1 gear ratio and the other reel is 6.0 to 1 ratio, the 4.3 is slower. It's going to reel slower, period. It's going to reel in your bait, your fish, whatever, slower. The 6.0 to 1 is going to be faster overall. It's going to reel in faster, and that's really all as of right now we have to go on. So actually talking about how much line the reel reels in, per rotation isn't really going to help us right now. Just go by the gear ratio. If it's a 4.3, it's lower than 6.0. 4.3 is going to be slower reeling in the reel than a 6.0. Okay, so I just wanted to throw this out there. You can still go by all the information that's on there. That whole entire video is right, except for the ratio and how I explain the ratio. It is not for every one rotation of the spool, it pulls in 4.3 centimeters. It is for every one rotation of the crank or the handle, the spool will rotate 4.3 times, which can be anywhere from 30 centimeters to 80 to 100 centimeters. We don't know as of yet. Okay, so I apologize for the incorrect information and for actually putting the video out and thinking to myself, geez, that doesn't quite sound right. It doesn't sound like enough line being pulled in. And I should have stopped the video and I should have just done a quick double check and I wouldn't have had this problem. But now, like a dickhead, I have to put out another video correcting myself. So that is the correction. Everything else is correct on there. As always, keep gaming, keep doing it, midnight. Have a blast. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care. Have a good one. And bye-bye.